What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode one of Aiming Up with Kenneth and Trey. I am Trey Bruffey with Integrated Muscle and Health. With me is close friend, mentor, and colleague Kenneth Almond with Foundry Physiques. So this is
What's
the
up?
first episode. We're going to dive into how this all came about, where we're hoping to take this, and then we'll dive into a little small topic that might end up being a bigger topic based off some of the things we're seeing. So, how's everything going, man?
It's great, dude. I got married this past weekend, and I my life's the best it's ever been. Uh, my clients are in great spots, and um, Landon's in a great spot. My son and the dogs are in a good spot. Like life is in a really good spot right now. I'm kind of just enjoying the fact that I think for me, there's times where you struggle and you're kind of in the mess, and then there's times when you get to a place, and sometimes we're not always present in the moment of being in that positive place. So I'm trying to be really present in the positive place because I would say 6 months ago probably wasn't the best,
Yeah.
and was being really present in that point because I want to know, okay, how do I need to grow and change in these moments of suffering to get to the place where we are today. So I'm sure at some point it'll dip back down, and you got to be present in that moment too. But I think I'm gonna ride this out for as long as I can.
Good.
What about you?
It's not been bad, man. I mean, you and I talk all the time. It's ebbs and flows, and it's Valerie and I have been trying to restructure the business stuff. I think I told you some of the stuff we're trying to do.
Yeah, like changing your schedule and stuff.
Trying to change schedule instead of paying a new mentor every single time I find a roadblock. I forget I have my wife who is smart and intelligent and has been
As wisdom.
yeah, it has been helping a lot. And like the
Yeah,
same stuff that you would recommend or her she would recommend, it's the same stuff I'd pay someone,
yeah,
like a business coach or whatever. So she's helping me with like kind of like time chunking. Um,
yeah,
I'm someone that says I'm a people pleaser, so like I just say yes to too many things.
yeah.
And I end up with like I think I have like 8 blood panels to do. And normally I'm like, okay, I gotta do this all like today, this week. And now she's been helping me try to like spread that stuff out.
Hmm.
Be okay telling clients, hey, like it's probably gonna be 1 or 2 weeks before I get to this because it's like I think at
Yeah.
times clients forget we have everything else to do and they don't even know the personal side of like being married and
You
trying
have
to
a family. Yeah,
yeah.
100%. I
So
think the thing too I want to add is like because in our society you can get on your phone and you can order anything on Amazon. Like we were talking before we got on, I'm watching my son play soccer, and I'm realizing that, his athleticism isn't really where it needs to be. So I need to work with him on some speed and agility stuff. And I don't actually have those tools here at the house. So I'm sitting here going, okay, on my phone at the game, ordering speed and agility stuff, and it's there by the time we got home,
right.
which is like, I mean, I'm thinking back when I was 9, 10 years old. Hell, I don't even think you could go get speed and agility stuff at Walmart at that point.
I don't know,
The
was
best thing
Dixie
I
even
could get
around
was
then?
you're right. I thought it's like a fishing license.
Yeah.
License is about all I could get with a fishing pole. You know what I'm saying? So, like, at what point do we look and say, okay, not only do we have everything at our fingertips at any given time, that starts to reverberate
Yeah.
into the other services that we have with people, and then you take AI, which is you know somebody could take their blood work and dump it into AI, I guess, and ultimately they're not going to get the the information out of it the way that we look at blood work, the way that we interpret things. But it's going to be one of those situations where they've satisfied their urge for
Want it now.
the here and now, right? And so what I always try to do for myself, because I used to be exactly like you. I worked in the corporate world for a long time, and In the corporate world, it would be one of those situations where you're sitting there going, okay, there's an email in my inbox, and my boss is expecting me to jump on that email immediately and not only answer the email, but do the task that
Yes.
he asked for in the email immediately because, well, that's what the corporate expectation is. So then I'm like, okay, well, that's got to apply to every single thing I put my hands to. Then this is another crazy thing, Trey. So Landon is in the fourth grade. Landon goes to a great school called Endeavor Charter School. It's probably one of the number one schools on the East Coast. Um, it's like a lottery system, so it's like it's a public school,
Okay.
but it's not a it's like a private public school. You actually have to wait to get into it. You have to apply to get into it, and if you can, they allow you in. Well, at fourth grade, we have meet the teacher night, and the teacher's like, well, um, I have an announcement. We'd like for you to start bringing your child to school. I know you have a window that's between 8:10 and 8:45, and class starts at 8:45. Well, we want you to bring your child at 8:10 because as soon as he walks in the door, we're going to load him down with extra work for that next 30 minutes.
Yep.
And that's going to be the expectation going forward. So I'm looking at this perspective going, you are grabbing my 9-year old's brain and setting this expectation that he has no time to get settled. He has no time to transition into a different environment. He immediately has to be ready
Hmm.
before the bell even rings. And when the bell rings, boy, you better be 10 feet down the road. And it's like, okay, well, that's corporate America right there integrated into our school system. So now you've had this entire experience your entire life, and now you're trying to unravel that experience with other clients who have also had those experiences.
Hmm.
So then you have this all of a sudden they're like, Trey doesn't love me anymore. He doesn't care about me. He's not doing what I asked him to do. And you're like, oh my gosh, my worth is tied up in exactly like performing at a higher level. And so then I have more anxiety over the fact that I'm not meeting this expectation. It's a completely unreasonable expectation because this person's upset with me. And it's like, okay, just breathe for a minute. Because the reality is you're not a machine.
Right.
The reality is you're not Amazon. The reality is you don't do anything same day.
Right.
Bro, there's nothing I do same day unless my family needs it.
Right.
Or if I just have an abundance of time, right? It's like, okay, yeah, I can fit that in. I'm going to knock that out. It's no problem. Um, a good example for me is like had a client perform a Dutch test. That Dutch test came in last night. Well, with podcast today, I had some other things scheduled today. I didn't schedule it for today because we're going to get on a Zoom call and go through the Dutch test and take a good amount of time. That would be overwhelming. My brain wouldn't be where it needs to be with you. So then I pushed it to tomorrow, and I'm giving myself much smaller chunks of time of work because when I have those smaller chunks of time, the value that I actually give the client at the time is greater because I'm not exhausted,
Right.
because I haven't spent myself completely on this other task over here, or even from a family perspective. Let's say like you're going through a difficult period of time personally.
Right.
Well, if that's the case, then you need to manage your workload to help manage your personal load because your personal life affects your work life
Right.
no matter what.
Yep.
And so man, I'm proud of you for doing that. It's a transition period, and you may lose some people too because
Yeah.
people have expectations, but it doesn't really matter.
So Val's been helping me with that, and we're working on touching on schedule and moving some things. That way I just have a little bit more, I don't want to say free time, but
Well, you do
towards the
need
end of the
more
day.
free time.
More
I
free
think you
time, but
I think it's like, how do you balance? It's like, okay, let's break the construct of what everybody's expectations are, right? So, like, if we work with people who work in corporate America, their idea is that you work at least 50 hours a week
right,
because that's what they do. But the reality is you own your own business and you get to determine how many hours you put towards something. The hours that you put towards something actually don't equate the dollar value of said item.
correct. Yes,
Because honestly, at your education level, which is higher than mine, for you to get from point A to point B, it's actually much shorter than it would be with me in some cases.
yep,
But I'm paying for you to do it in a shorter period of time, or have that amount of knowledge that you can then
right,
give to me that I don't already have.
yeah,
So it's a it's a transition for people to understand, even from a coaching perspective. What we provide as functional health practitioners, it's like, okay, this is the concierge sort of higher end product. Even from a bodybuilding perspective,
yep,
if we're coaching bodybuilders, it's like we're not your cookie cutter coach that's not making adjustments, you know, often or whatever. It's like you're having an experience that is um, deep and wide. It's not this deep and this wide.
yep,
So, um, yeah, it's a transition. I mean, I'm kind of doing that too in my own business a little bit because it's like, okay, could I take on more clients? Some, yeah, but I probably need to spend a little bit more time on the ones that would benefit from it. Some
mm,
people wouldn't,
yep,
right? Like I have certain people, like, no matter how much time I spend with them, they're automatic.
yep,
Like this guy Nick Grubb that I have, he's a great competitor. I can give him more time, but does it translate to benefit the outcome? Maybe a little bit,
right,
but if I just give him good direction, man, he runs with it and goes with it,
yep,
right? So not everybody's like that.
yeah. Because
So
what we're hoping is moving it around, like because the way my days work, Monday, I because I still personal train, so I'm still doing that 15 to 20 hours a week, which is time I
yeah, it's a lot.
and
Hmm.
and I think people don't realize when you're training clients in person, it's 5% training, 95% personal. It's not necessarily your training. And I've got to spend time paying attention to some certain stuff. I pay attention to certain things with that client outside the session. That way I can talk about it. So I have one guy that likes the Eagles and Penn State and the Phillies. Like I keep up with that stuff now because I need to be able to carry a conversation with him and
For sure.
actually care. And so Mondays is I train 5 days a week, but Mondays is also a heavy check-in day. But you're also catching up on Saturday, Sunday messages because I've been trying to work Saturday, Sunday.
Hmm.
Tuesday is heavy call day, still heavy training. Then I do help also with the mentorship. And then Wednesday, Thursday is kind of like personal appointment. I still usually book calls. I still have other stuff. But then Friday, it's another heavy grind check-in day. That's where most people check in now.
It kind
Then
of, yeah, it's kind, you can kind of be that way for me too.
you get like, and I'll get Saturday to maybe recover. And then Sunday, I'm like, okay, I've got to mentally prepare to do it all over
You're
again.
gearing up for Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Valor and I aren't getting much time together. We're not getting any time to travel. If I do want to travel, I've got to say, hey guys, we're moving your check-in to a Thursday. And that upsets people at times. Or I've got to work while she drives, or if we're flying, I've got to work. Well, you're not
Yeah.
present as a
You're
husband.
not present. Yeah.
So what
Yep.
I'm hoping is restructuring some things. We can move it where do that stuff earlier in the week, kind of get Friday, Saturday, Sunday if we want to go on 2 day vacations because we can't take long trips or any continuing ed events. At the end of the day, it's going to benefit everyone. It's hard for me at first when Valerie had brought it up to me, it was hard for me to picture it. But the more I
Yeah.
talked about with you, her, my therapist, I brought up to a client of mine earlier. Everybody's like, no, like if you're mentally well, if you're rested, you're going to show up better in other areas.
100%. Yes. So that's what I say to my clients too. It's like, okay, I was just having a conversation with a new client that's going to sign up here in the next month or so. And she's worked with me before, but things have changed since we've worked together and I've gotten better at my job and stuff. And like the conversation is like the pain is you're in this place that you don't want to be in mentally, physically, because usually it's mentally and physically, right? And then now you want out of it. Well, there's a pain period of the habits that you have to perform to get to the other side of it. Well, those habits you have to perform require it requires like a different thought process, and it it's hard to picture you doing those things because you're over here in this pain point. But as you start to do the things and you start to like take care of yourself, your mental health actually gets better. So then your efficiency with being able to do what's asked of you
Right.
is greater. And but it's hard to feel that way when you're kind of in a hole
Yeah.
or you're in a a dysfunctional place.
Yeah.
And when you start to move out of it, it's like every single person I have that commits to start to move out of it, once they get onto the other side of it, they're like, oh man, this was like, I should have done this a
Yeah.
while ago. I probably shouldn't have procrastinated. And that's the way I also used to be with some of the tasks that I have as a coach is I would look at a task. Let's say it's a client that's really emotionally dysregulated, and I'm an empathetic person. So when I read that email, it's like, oh, now I'm emotionally dysregulated because this person's emotionally dysregulated,
Yeah.
right? And then now it's like I can't even email them back because this is so dysregulating for me. That's how it would feel. I would almost get into this place of like, man, I need to recover from this email so that I can write this email.
Yes.
And but now I'm in a place where I don't I'm still empathetic to a degree. I still care, but I realize that there has to be a boundary for um my emotional availability because all of my responsibility first and foremost falls on my family. I need to be emotionally available for my family. And then if I see that it's encroaching on that, then I've got to take the onus in my business and say, all right, we have a 24-hour window or whatever the window is that we're going to answer this email, and I'm going to run it up to the edge because I need the time.
Right.
And
And it's kind of like
or even just sending a quick email saying, "Hey, I got your email. I'll get back to you. This is a lot to unpack.
bingo.
I'll let you know." And so there's different ways to sort of manage it. You don't ever want to let the person go too far along without, telling them that you read their email.
Yeah.
Um, but you also have to protect your heart and your mind because everything that you do flows from that. It's like ultimately, if your mental health is low, if you're disheartened about something, then your ability to perform at the elite level of coaching that you provide, you're only giving the client 50% at that point.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. I
Yeah.
think it's probably going to
Like
take a little bit of a
I
transition, but
think
it's
it will
great.
be. And I think like a couple things I always think about is like, do you want a fast response or do you want a good response? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, sure, you might get and unfortunately, like, that's how the industry has turned into. Like, if you don't respond within 24 hours or within minutes, you're a shitty coach. When in reality,
Hmm.
it's not necessarily the case. Like,
No.
if you've got 40, 50 people, I'm sorry, do you think that that person is actually taking the time to address your stuff if they're getting back to you within minutes? If they are, great, but I'm willing to bet there's other parts of their life that you are not aware of that has gone down the wayside. And that's something I'm trying to prevent. That's one thing that comes to my mind. The other thing is my counselor, she always paints this image for me, like with clients, is like imagine you and your client are getting in a boat. You're gonna row out to shore, you're with the client, but you, like me or you have an anchor back on shore where you're anchored. And it's not our job to anchor them. Like you're anchored to hold there. And it's kind of one of those things where I'm trying to restructure boundaries and make sure, like, hey, in order for me to help you, I've got to be anchored. I've got to like you got to be cool with like not ping-ponging messages 30
Yeah.
times a day and
Yep.
me trying to do that with 30, 40 plus people all the time because nothing's
Yeah, it's hard.
yeah, and so it's going to be a little bit
Well,
of
I
an
and I'll tell
adjustment.
you why it's hard. Like I want the audience to know this. What makes the job the most complex is when you actually care,
Right.
right? So like you and I both care. Like we genuinely care not only about the outcome that we're pursuing as a coach, but we genuinely care about the moment in which you're interacting with us and how you're feeling and what you're doing. And like we have an empathetic heart towards how you're feeling. So that can be all consuming, especially if we have, it's funny, I used to think like, it's like, is it a full moon today? Because I think all the women that I have on the roster are on the same cycle and they have all the same symptoms and they have all the same, they wouldn't necessarily be crazy or anything, but they would have like the same headache or they would have the same, you know what I mean? And you're just like, what is going on?
Yep.
So there's these things that happen behind the scenes that you don't know as a client that, okay, so and so, let's say Tammy sends me an email. Tammy's having a bad day. Well, so is Erica,
Right.
and they're having the same bad day. You ever had that happen where
Yep.
it's like their lives are literally running parallel to each other,
Yep.
and you're the common denominator, and because you're the most regulated person in their life, they're coming to you.
Right.
So now you're the most regulated person with two really dysregulated people because they're having a really extremely difficult day, which is completely normal. But then you're the one that's got to hold it for long enough for them to make it through the really difficult time to get to the next day.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you got Bobby and Tom the next day who's like, bro, what's going on? So people don't have the perspective that there are other people struggling in the environment, in the container of our coaching world, the same way that they are.
Yep.
And like if they knew that, and I'm not saying I want to diminish their experience because everybody else is having a similar experience. What I'm saying is you would probably have a little bit more grace if you knew that Erica was texting me at the same time that you were texting me over here, Tammy, and I was managing both conversations,
Right.
right? And so um, that's also an educational experience for the client and the coach. Sometimes I'll leave the name out of it and I'll say, you know, there's somebody on the roster right now going through exactly what you're going through. And these are the steps in which we're moving forward. And I had to do that with sales sometimes. It's like I go sell to a cabinet shop, right? I used to sell cabinet stuff. And I'm selling this cabinet shop, and it's like 10 minutes down the road, there's another cabinet shop. Well, this guy down 10 minutes down the road, he's still buying the stuff from the competitor, but he's buying that stuff from the competitor for 30 years. So he's like set in his ways, all that stuff. But I'm selling this stuff over here to his buddy 10 minutes up the street. Well, then I go down the street 10 minutes, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up? I'm selling your buddy my stuff. you should probably switch because he found the value. And then all of a sudden he realizes like he had the same problem that he's got, and my product fixed the problem. So then all of a sudden he's actually more apt to work with me a little bit more because he knows that I'm solving the guy's problem down the street.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Yep. Yep. So
So
we'll
I think you just have to educate people sometimes.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be a slow transition, and I think everybody will get used to it. I mean, it's going to better everyone at
Yeah.
the end of the day. But that's basically it. That's all that's going on. But we'll go ahead and dive into some of it. So you and I have been talking for a bit about maybe doing something.
Yeah.
Um, we don't suck at social media, but we don't particularly enjoy it.
Yeah, I
We'd
think
rather
I
do
think
other
what
things.
yeah, I think the thing for me, if I had to vocalize it, it's like, okay, a long format type of situation like a podcast with a friend is more valuable to me to unpack real life type scenarios, to be able to glean certain parts of wisdom for clients to be able to better themselves when they can't hear my voice in a similar situation,
Right.
right? And so when I'm tasked with doing a reel, I mean, most all of my content is based on my clients,
Yeah, I'm similar.
right? So I can do that. That's simple. But if you're like a reel that's successful is extreme, right? It's usually one end of the other. And I'm not an extreme person from a coaching perspective. So it's very difficult for me to have a hook to draw somebody in. And it's like, did you know GLP-1s cause cancer of the brain?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, like, that's not even correct information, maybe. But somebody's clicked on your reel and it's been shared 57 times because it was wrong
Right.
information. And it's like, okay, I don't want to be that person. So I shy away from certain experiences.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, like all 99% of my clients are referrals.
Well, see, and that's how mine is. It's
And
referrals.
that's why if I felt like I needed to drive marketing through my social media to drive my business, then I probably would spend a little bit more time. I mean, I think there is a necessary evil there just so that you are relevant to some resume and all that stuff. But like, it's just not a motivating factor.
Yeah. So like I thought this is like a good opportunity for both of us. Like obviously we'll share on like Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and we can post clips on Instagram, whatever. But I think I'm the same way as you. I prefer to let my clients do the talking, let that be the resume, let people refer people. But I also see where people like Austin's like, listen, dude, I need you posting stuff.
Yeah,
People have to know who you are. He's like in it, and I
right.
get it. I get it where
And
he
he
doesn't.
posts what 3 times a day, right?
Yeah, and he'll be like,
And
listen,
he's
man,
the
like you
king at
might
it.
not make money immediately or get clients immediately, but this will help when there is ebbs and flows.
Yeah,
It
he's right.
does, and so
He's
I
not
feel like
wrong.
this is a good opportunity for both of us, and I felt like I wanted to do a different spin on it because I find within our industry, it's the pendulum's going both ends of the spectrum. Super simple, super complex on any topic. The industry has gotten too toxic, too negative. There's not enough positivity. And I felt like with both of us, we're both very faith driven and make an attempt to.
Yep.
I felt like we could do a really good job of like putting some different stuff out there and a different aspect that maybe others don't hear us talking about. Sure, we might do, like I might do lives or I do the podcast with Austin or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's talking topics that other people are wanting to talk, and you're trying to balance four people, two people, three people, whatever. Whereas here, we both get the opportunity to actually talk, where I feel like neither one of us are very present on social. We post our clients, we go on about our day, we do our job, and then we try to make time for your now wife, my current wife, or still wife
Yeah.
long term, and make time for all that we don't necessarily have time to be on social media 24/7. And even if we did have time, neither
It
one
wouldn't
of
be
us
our
really want to.
preference.
It's not a preference of ours. Like I'm a very private person. I do better with one-on-one conversations. I do very
Yeah.
poorly on the group. And I'm sure if some people watch the other podcasts I do that are like group, I do not talk as much. I'm not a big group person. I'm a one-on-one person.
Hmm.
So I felt like this would be a good opportunity for both of us, something we could do bi-weekly, whatever it turns out to be. Um, so I felt you're the perfect man for the job. And
Yeah, I think the positive thing, like even from a faith perspective, I was actually talking to a former client slash just friend, and she's going through it right now. And I think I'm going through the book of Proverbs in my own, uh, in my pursuit of my personal relationship with God. And it's the first time that I've read Proverbs. So
Mhm.
there's about every, it's like every other day I'm reading something. Donna,
Yeah.
why did I not read Proverbs when I was 20 years old? Why did I not read this when I was younger? Because what it actually is just truth and wisdom
Yeah.
in the whole situation. And so I was encouraging her when I was talking about Proverbs 17:22. It's a joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones.
Mhm.
And that applies to this podcast, right? It's like we want to bring a positive perspective. We want to be joyful about what we do because the reality is we have there's a benefit here for the both of us, not only monetarily as our career, but we get to impact other people's lives and heal people from sickness.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty phenomenal the the ability that God's given us to be able to help people in this way. And like I have some crazy cases sometimes where doctors have not been able to help them and Western medicine's just wild and crazy. And then you just start to put logical things in place and you're healing people and the joy that comes from that, not only them being joyful because they're freed from the chains of their own stuff, but the joy of seeing sort of a job well done.
Yes.
It's almost like going out in your front yard and mowing the grass. You're like, look at that. That looks good. And it's the same thing with a client when you get to the end. It can be an exhausting experience along the way because you're riding the wave of life with that particular individual. And if you have enough trust built between the two of you, you're able to weather those storms and get to the end result. And so some of the coolest um, things about my job are the people that have been with me the longest.
Right.
You get to know these. I mean, honestly, it's kind of like our relationship too.
Yeah.
Like I've known you for a really long time now, and when you started, you were part time. You were still working at Rogue, and now I'm just going to give you this, and I don't care whether you take the compliment or not because it's still true. You're the most intelligent coach that I know. You're the most educated coach that I know. You have the most knowledge of anyone that I know. That includes Austin, and he's my coach and mentor, and he's your boss.
Right.
So like I'm shooting that over the bow at him a little bit. I'm just picking on him. But I mean you're now at his level where that's been the pursuit for you for a long time to kind of be recognized as a person of high knowledge and you're there. And man, that's a sweet thing to see
I
from
appreciate
a friend perspective. It's like, wow,
it.
Trey, Trey's smarter than me. Because at one point you weren't.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate it.
So yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah. So like yeah, I think this is like a good, and we can go into the topic. I just think this we have a good opportunity to make a more positive spin of things.
Yeah, I think.
And that
Well, I
doesn't mean
think.
there's not negativity, but I think we have a opportunity to put a spin on that. We can see both ends of the spectrum of everything.
Yeah. Right.
It's kind of like when I train lots of clients, both online but in person, that are different, like beliefs, different like spiritual beliefs, different political beliefs, whatever. And I don't ever judge anyone on it, and I actually enjoy healthy conversation with it because I am genuinely interested in what people think. And unfortunately, when it comes to our industry, everyone's hating on everyone versus like, why don't we just have a healthy conversation and actually talk about like there's truths on both side of whatever part of the industry or whatever life you can talk about. And I think both of us do a really good job of hearing all aspects, but then also putting our personal spin on it,
Yeah.
without shaming other people, without having to
Yeah.
say people's names and companies' name, without bashing people, and without having to, at the end of the day, it ends up making us look worse as human beings if that's the only way
Yeah.
we can get our point across. So I felt like this is a good opportunity where we can do that and take a spin that I don't personally see as being done much anymore. It's kind of like when I think about John, like I know John Meadows was like close for you. John was like my idol as a kid. Like my senior project in college, he took time out of his day to do a phone call and do interview with me. Like, and
Hmm.
every time I would table for Project AD, he was always the guy next to me, and he would take time to get to know Valerie. And but that's who I think about with how I want us to do this and how I we've been trying to carry it is John was always very positive, even in the times of maybe where less than ideal things happened to him, whether it was supplement stuff. And anyone
Hmm.
that's followed John knows past history stuff. He's always had a positive spin to it. And he's always been realistic without bashing everyone. And if it did involve honesty, he wasn't trying to hurt the person. He wasn't trying to
Yeah.
people to
He was
get their
trying.
point
He was trying
across.
to protect other people from people potentially experiencing similar
Yeah.
things that he
We're
had
trying to
happen to him.
educate in the process. I
Hmm.
think both of us
Right.
can do a good job of doing that without having to stroke our ego, mess with other
Yeah.
people, and that type of thing. So for the first topic, I mean, we'll just play it by ear, but I felt like just finding middle ground in coaching, and that could be bodybuilding, it could be
Yeah.
functional health, it could be anything, because like we're seeing the pendulum, it's always one way or the other. And I'm not going to argue, I'm
Yeah.
not going to disagree that there are times it needs to swing one side than the other. But if we use coaching right now, it's two extremes. It's either super simple, super complex, if we're talking health. If we're talking bodybuilding, it's like, okay, safer use model. If you use diuretics, if you use anything that's not testosterone, masteron, primo, or anything that's bioidentical, you are unhealthy, you don't care about the client, then you got the clients here that's like, hey, like you just need to up the CCs, you need to take more, you need to eat more and stop training with reps in reserve or whatever volume models they're talking about. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing with everything. So like I felt like we could just see where that goes and talk about like, hey, like both sides are right, both sides are also
Yep.
wrong. There's a time and a place, and I think both of us do a good job of implementing that and knowing when to implement that with our clients.
Yeah, I think with bodybuilding in particular, just to start off with, it's like, okay, I'm a health focused bodybuilder within my own life. Like Austin and I plan on starting prep probably in the next month or two. And I want to be healthy because I have a family.
Right.
Um, I also want to set a precedent that you can do it as healthy as you can for as long as you want and still live a life that's not going to be impacted negatively by bodybuilding. Um, However, by definition, bodybuilding is an extreme sport.
Right.
So if you want to be extremely healthy, then you probably are not going to optimize your bodybuilding journey as much as you want.
Yes.
But if you want to be extremely unhealthy, you're probably not going to optimize your bodybuilding experience the way that you want. However, there's times where if you have a more advanced person, maybe even like myself, and that person has been healthy the majority of the time, and you want to throw in a compound, or if you want to throw in a dosage, or if you want to throw in whatever given thing that's perceived as the devil for a length of time to see how said person would respond, well, by definition, that's bodybuilding,
Yes.
right? So let's do that, but let's do it with an education behind who you're doing it with. For example, let's say it's me. Let's say I go to Austin. I'm like, I want to do 20 IUs of growth a day.
Yeah.
He probably would say, if you can afford it, dude, let's see what happens. This is going to be fun, right? If it's a person who has a highly addictive personality and they just got back home from rehab and GH is going to be the gateway drug into heroin, you probably shouldn't do it, right? So there's context there. If you have somebody that's an unhealthy, unfit person to do bodybuilding, maybe they shouldn't. Um, Now, there's times when, like, I have a particular client right now. We've never done super extreme stuff. We've skirted kind of on the edges of female PEDs. And now I'm pushing her way far over here because to the health perspective, because we got her blood work back and it's not good. It's not good because, well, we pushed the edge over here to make progress, and then we made progress that we wanted, but the pendulum has to swing back to some degree for a period of time. And so you can't always ride the middle for body. I mean, you could. You may not get the progress that you want to the degree that you want, but it depends on how long you do it.
Yeah.
I think the rule in bodybuilding is anybody can go pro. It just depends on how long you do it. Like Paulin. Like if Paulin would have met me, my client, who I turned pro a couple years ago, who's a genetic freak, if he would have met me in the beginning of his career, he probably would have turned pro within 2 or 3 years. But
Right.
he coached himself for way too long, right? So when you look at it like that, it's like, okay, well, that's a short experience for him. But for me, and I'm going to try to go pro as a master's pro, I might be 57 before it happens. Who knows, you know?
Right.
So, um, I think that's my perspective on bodybuilding. Do you have a certain
I
perspective?
mean, I agree with like the bodybuilding stuff because there's a time and a place for everything. Like,
Right.
and it's always interesting because like I don't remember how long you've been coaching, but like I think back to when I was 17.
2013.
Okay, so that was 2013 too. It was 2012. It was right before it was my senior year of high school. And that's when I started coaching some of the wrestlers and coaching like people I knew in the school in the gym. And obviously after wrestling, I got into bodybuilding pretty heavy. And when I think about then, that's when social media was that's when Instagram was like popping off.
Hmm.
Facebook was still around because that's how I met Austin was through Facebook at the time. And I'm sure a lot of the people listening probably weren't around and probably have no clue of anything that I'll bring up. But when I think back to bodybuilding, then it's always interesting how they talk about how unhealthy certain things were or now or whatever. But we're seeing it comes full circle where some of those same things
Yes.
are being used now. It's kind of like the safer use model. Bodybuilding is never going to be healthy. You can make it healthier, and but at the same
Yes.
time, there
Or
are
you can just be natural,
yes,
and that's the maximum level of
yeah.
healthy,
But then at the end
right?
of the day, is that
It's not healthy
Healthy?
if you prep.
Is it, yeah, right. Is it healthy? Like if you crash your adrenals and your sex hormones and now
Yeah,
you need TRT
100%.
and you can't have, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's not healthy, but I would argue anything that requires you to be extreme to get to the end result is not really healthy, whether it's business, whether
Mhm.
it's addiction, whether it's marriage or anything. There's going to be times where it's not healthy. Like
Right.
there's going to be times, and I think that's something with bodybuilding specifically they forget about is we can be safer and be healthier, but there are still times where we have to do things if the goal is to do well and get to whatever goal they want
Mhm.
within relation of what they could actually do, like not telling someone they're gonna be Ronnie Coleman or whatever.
Sure.
There's gonna be times we're gonna have to do unhealthy things. And at the end of the
And
day,
that's true at the collegiate level of sports.
it's like
That
that. Honestly, dude, I would argue high school levels. And if you
Yeah,
think Texas
100%.
football or wrestling in like Pennsylvania, places like
Right.
Ohio, different places, Iowa and stuff like that, like it's gonna be unhealthy. Like, so I think that's one thing I always keep in mind, and I think a lot of people forget is when we're working with competitors, yes, our goal is always to make the best choices possible, keep them healthy, but there is going to come a time and place where we've got to push it up a mix. That might mean pushing food way higher and not being as healthy with our food choices for GI health. We know they're going to probably have a rut gut at the end of a growth phase and at the end of a prep.
Hmm.
We can do what we can to support that. If it's like a growth phase, there might be times where we have to push more GH, more insulin. We have to push certain things. But again, at the end of the day, like that is bodybuilding, unfortunately. And then same thing in prep. Like there's times that I opt for things that if people know about them, they're like, oh, you are reckless. So let's use like DMP. That's a
DMP,
common
baby,
one.
let's go.
Everyone wants to bash that. But then at the
But you
same
shouldn't.
time,
Devil's in
you're
the dose.
you're pushing other things like high dose clen, high dose T3, high caffeine. You're pushing the same thing, but just because we know if you take too much of this, there could be negative ramifications. You're a bad coach or you don't care about your clients if you implement something like that. But couldn't I argue the same
It's a lack of
thing?
education.
Yeah. Because you could argue the
It,
same thing for the people that are like, okay, you can't prep, otherwise you're going to binge. So instead of actually working with the person to teach them how not to do this or maybe redoing their expectations or goals, we're just going to put them on a GLP to mask that effect. What are you going to do after that? You didn't fix the problem. It's kind of like birth control with females that are having bad periods. That's not fixing the problem. You're not digging deeper. So that's like something that I always keep in mind because it's not like my roster's full of bodybuilders. I help a handful and a few IFBB pros and stuff like that.
yeah.
At the end of the day, there are conversations I have with them. I'm like, listen, like this is what we can do. What are your thoughts? And it's a group decision. At the end of the day, it's an
Yeah,
athlete's
it's a
decision.
conversation and then they get to decide. I never push anything on
Yeah.
anybody. In fact, sometimes I can be real conservative by default because honestly, like the lineage of the coaches and mentors that I've had has always had me do nothing but that type of thing.
Yeah. Right.
So ultimately, like I found myself with a client like a few months back where I was like, oh wow, I've played it so conservatively here that he's reminding me that we're kind of below a normal level of anabolics that and he's done well, but he's like, hey, can we do a little bit more? Like a little bit more is not going to be hurtful. And I was like, oh man, I'm really playing this super conservative. And it's not something that you have to do. But then, talking about all that stuff, uh, from a functional health perspective, functional medicine perspective.
Very much.
So when you have a client who has a functional health issue, there's all these, I would say, and you correct me if I'm wrong, there's three types of people. One is healthy, which we never get.
Right.
Two is diseased. Three is autoimmune.
Yes.
So, so now that you have the scale, you have healthy, autoimmune, diseased. Middle is diseased. Autoimmune is the extreme. Healthy is the other extreme. Well, the majority of the people come to us between the disease state and the autoimmune state. So, depending on the approach, so let's say Tammy walks through the door. She has Lyme disease, Epstein-Barr virus,
Right.
and Hashimoto's, SIBO, and she's currently in therapy for PTSD. She's all the way over to this far spectrum, right? And she's gone to all these various doctors, and all the doctors have like blasted her with antibiotics and all kinds of stuff, and her immune system's completely shot. So now, as a practitioner, what do you do? Well, you got to bring her to healthy. So the pendulum's got to swing all the way to healthy. How do you do that? It's probably going to require some supplements,
Right.
right? It's probably going to require like a good handful of supplements with every meal.
Yep.
And then, like, it's probably going to require a vast amount of rest that she doesn't currently do.
Yep.
And it's probably going to require, like, I don't know, an entire uprooting of her entire lifestyle. So that's extreme, right? Well, then you have say it's a diseased person that walked in, they got low T, they got, you know, maybe a little bit of gut dysbiosis, some H. pylori or something. And, but their life is generally fine. And you put them on some TRT, you give them some supplements to kind of eradicate the H. pylori and support their digestive health, and you create good habits in and around that, and you teach them how to train and live their life in the right way. Well, to some people, that sounds like you're taking advantage of them because you send them over to the clinic to get TRT that you're associated with, and you know the perspective is that we're getting some sort of crazy paycheck off of that, which is not the truth. And then there's a discount code to your supplements that you prescribed, which honestly, it's just a discount code to help alleviate the fact that I have to even give you supplements in the first place. And the little bit of a gift card or, you know, a couple dollars that I get from your order ain't making a big impact in my life.
Right.
So, but if you put that scenario in certain people's content on social media, you're Satan himself.
Yes.
And so, but but also you're Satan because you're an extreme person over here actually correcting someone's autoimmune issue that nobody else has any concept over because, well, Western medicine doesn't have the wherewithal or the time or the ability to prescribe the testing or the know-how or the life experience surrounding this situation. And also, let's just talk about the time that we spend with the client versus the doctor.
Right.
How much time do we spend with the client versus a doctor with a 15-minute call? They can't unpack things the way that we do. So, man, guess I'm the devil.
Right. And I think
So,
that's the thing, like that our goal is with as we do this is to help with is both sides are right.
yes.
There's a necessity of both. There's a difference between um I'll use each example you use. Let's use the guy that actually did truly need TRT or a
Yeah.
female gal that needed HRT or whatever. Okay, you have two options or three options. A, send them to their doctor, see if they will do it. 50
Okay,
50 chance
time
that
out right there. How many times do you get a doctor play ball?
handful, and I'm one of the handful. Because my doctor just, my urologist just does whatever I ask.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah,
So I
it just
do have a
depends.
doctor here that I can send somebody to. It's not going to be remote. Most of my clients are remote, but if I send somebody to this person, number one, I don't know what they're doing in their office to get it prescribed under like insurance from a blood
Yeah,
work perspective, but it ain't exactly what they're supposed to be doing. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah.
So ultimately, I don't even know that that's a viable option in a lot of cases.
Yep.
So at that point, the only HRT clinic that I know that's doing it to the degree that I would need them to do it is Rise.
Right.
So that's I also use them. So, but from a perspective of like the clients listening or the audience listening today, if you are a person that needs TRT or HRT, it is a very rare thing that you're going to walk into your general practitioner
That's a good.
and get that thing.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. So you have three scenarios. You can try the doctor, see if insurance will run it.
Hmm.
Again, it's unlikely. I've seen it, but also I've not seen it. Usually I don't see it. So that's one. Second option is go through a clinic that you or I trust. I agree. Rise is the only one right now I recommend. We
Right.
don't have anything else. Sorry. Um,
Right.
Not my problem. Um, there's nothing we can do. Like unless you meet us
100%.
and
You're
open a
100%
clinic,
right.
there's
You're
literally nothing
100%
else
right.
we can do.
Unless we
Um,
open a clinic, which would
yeah.
just make Matt
And
mad.
then
So,
right. And then the third option is you have them go black market, go UGL. And you're,
hmm.
so at the end of the day, if the person, whether it's male or female, needs that, what am I going to do? I'm going to make the professional recommendation and say, hey, try your doctor or try a clinic. Yes, I'm aware. Yes, I do get kickback from the clinic. Everyone that works with me is very aware of this. Every kickback I get from Rise, which is very little, I well, now they pay it to us. We get in our account. I used to keep mine at Rise, and I use that to apply to clients' lab work. I
Right.
have four people that got 50 to $100 to help with lab work this week within the last
Right.
week. GI maps. I have a guy I'm sending out my GI map to him to help because he doesn't have the money to do that.
Hmm.
I'm not a shitty person for sending people to a clinic where I'm using the money I get a kickback to still help these same clients. That's not a
100%.
bad person. It's different if we're saying, okay, the guy's got low T or the gal's got low progesterone, but they also have all these deficiencies. And versus correcting those deficiencies first to see if it naturally fixes, we automatically send the clinic because we're money hungry and stuff. You and I don't do that. There's other people that don't do that. But at the end of the day, there's a respect for Western medicine and clinics and things like that where it might be necessary. So that would be like the testosterone example. If we use like the sick, like you're actually sick and they have a health issue and their life is a wreck. I totally agree that we need to do basics and make sure they have the basics in line because that is
Yeah, before you can do anything else.
yeah, because they needed to be doing it. But at the same time, they most likely will need some support. Does that mean they need 100 supplements and they need
No.
peptides? They need GLPs? No. But the same token, there are times where basics does work and we've seen it work. There are also times where the basics are helping, but it's not correcting the issue where we have to implement a handful of supplements. Or there's some where we might have to go very intensive with things and spend way more than I would like. And that might mean times that I have to, let's use Pure Factor. There might be times I recommend Hill Factor for someone. 9 times out of 10, I try to go through a like iHerb to get everything discounted. But at the end of the day, if the same three things are like in Hill Factor, and maybe they're spending $5 more, but there's only one thing they keep up with versus three or four things they keep up with. The
Yeah.
client's gonna be
Right.
less stressed. They're gonna do better. It's
Right.
like I don't care if they're spending a little bit of money. That kickback isn't to benefit me, or it might be sending stuff to Dave's company, the Collective Supplement Co. Like I might do
100%.
that. Is that to feed my pocket? No, because I would still give them the same things from iHerb I still search for a discount code of every single place I ever recommend anything, even if it's nothing for us. It might be someone I actually do not prefer. But at the end of the day, I
Yeah,
want to do what's best to save that client money. And so
right.
I can sleep at night because trust me, you and me or anyone doesn't enjoy prescribing or recommending a bunch of supplements or recommending anything. We would love if we could just say, eat 3 or 4 meals, drink some water, go on a walk, fast, do whatever. We would love if that was the option, but unfortunately, we're not at that place. And even
Well, we used to be.
we used to be, but even then, like
Yeah.
our water sources suck, our food
Yeah.
sources suck.
Yeah. It's changed.
Everyone
The
is
world's
stressed.
changed.
Mental health is the worst it's ever been. I would say the world in general is probably the worst it's ever been. It's only going to keep getting worse until the day comes.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
part of the process. There's nothing any of us can do about it. We're not bad people for pushing that. But where the pendulum can swing the other way is the people that are like, okay, like I've got a full script account. All of your supplements are here. Yes, you could get that supplement $30 cheaper on iHerb, but I need you to go through me. That's the difference. Is that person, yes, they're recommending what you need, but if you can get the same product, save money, but they're still insisting you got to come through their full script account or whatever specific account to spend $30 on the exact same thing, then yes, that is where the pendulum is being swung too much. Or if you're automatically being put on a GLP or you're automatically being put on 50 million peptides or supplements and you have no
Hmm.
test, you have not practiced basics, you haven't had that conversation about counseling, mental health, relationships, or anything, then yeah, that's where I can see that pendulum is swinging too much. But at the end of the day, like what we're trying to explain is both
There's a
sides
time
are
and a
right.
place for
There's a
everything.
time and a place, both sides are right. Because you order lab work doesn't mean you're a bad person. Just because you only do basics doesn't mean you're a bad person. But at the end of the day, both sides of the spectrum are also wrong because at the end of the day, if you are saying you only need to do the basics, you cannot do this, and we sell someone that pipe dream that they will get better for that, but it actually requires that they're going to need some type of support and some type of testing that we're not going to be able to always get from a conversation or by trying to get them to do counseling and nervous system regulation or whatever. You are letting that person down. You in theory can be manipulating that person, thinking selling a pipe dream.
Yeah.
But then the
Hmm.
other side is because I'm going to be very fair to everyone, the extremists that are protocols and you got to do this and you got to do that and you have all this process and it's cookie cutter stuff. You're doing that person a disservice if you're only pushing that stuff because that's the only way you know how to do it, or you're getting
You're
some.
lining your pocket.
Yeah, and you're not doing to think about that client. I think that's what both sides are missing right now, whether it's health or bodybuilding, is you are doing a disservice if you're not meeting the client where they're at. And that's what you and I always try to do is meet them where they're at. And that might mean, yes, basics is all you need because you don't even drink water, you won't go on a walk, and every single time you sit down to eat a piece of chicken or fruit, you're also eating a candy bar. Yes, I'm going to focus on basics. For others, it might mean, hey, like you've got some GI stuff going on. Yeah, we can do some baseline support supplementation. Do that. We'll go off your symptoms. We'll do some blood work. But why don't we just be safe than sorry and do a GI map at the same time of the blood work and just make sure we're
Yeah.
missing it. Yes, it's gonna cost a little bit more. Yes, like I in theory like to go in order of those three, but recently I've been talking about doing both or all three at the same time. Hey, let me offset the cost for you because I know it is upfront cost, or let's fix something
Yeah. I've done a
quickly.
combination of things to speak to that, not to interrupt you, but so at one point in time, I would make it mandatory for people to do a full panel,
Yep.
a GI map, and a Dutch test
Yep.
because I was just like, I want to know what I'm dealing with
Yeah.
because I don't want to be guessing. And that was honestly earlier in my functional medicine, approach. And so then I went all the way to we're just going to do basic blood work.
Yeah.
And the basic blood work is going to tell me if you got issues, but I'm going to prove to you that you have issues through the blood work, and then that's going to entice you to do the GI
Follow
map,
plan. Yeah.
and then, but also then you were kind of talking about this one type of client that every time they sit down and eat a piece of chicken and a piece of fruit, they're eating a candy bar and they're not drinking their water, so they don't have the basics down. I can't coach someone out of gut dysbiosis who operates that way. I
100%.
can't coach someone out of um, this is an extreme, but I'm using it. Um, Adrenal crisis
Right.
from that with a person that doesn't have the basics, right? So like there's all of these scenarios where you have various different levels of people. I will say for me, it is it's a it's a 75% chance that I have a diseased person not doing the basics who need the basics and some support. And then once we get to a pretty stable level of them taking care of themselves, then we can progress into a protocol that
Bingo.
will bring them to a level of health they've actually never experienced
Yeah.
before. And when someone actually, it's so funny because this is me. So 2021, I lose John. I go to Austin. The very first thing, dude, I was pissing out of my butt like it was nobody's business, bro. Like I was like, I couldn't make it between meals without
Right.
using the bathroom. I was miserable. So the very first thing I did with Austin, I was like, we gotta fix my gut. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we gotta fix my gut. And he fixed my gut in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
What the reality of it was, looking back, it was just a small case of SIBO.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything major.
Yeah.
And so he fixed it. And dude, I had never in my life felt so good in my life. My Not only my digestive system worked so much better, I dropped 10 pounds of inflammation. My knees didn't hurt anymore. I didn't have tendonitis in my shoulders anymore. It was, I mean, it honestly, it changed my life like Jesus has.
Right.
I was walking around preaching the gospel of gut health to people, and I was like, "Hey, have you met gut health as your Lord and Savior?" I mean, that's how extreme I was
Right.
about just talking about it. And so, a lot of times when you finally get that person that's got the basics down pat, who can go through a protocol, who can get to a level of health that they've never experienced, it's so transformative in your life that you never want to go back to this person you were when you first came to me as a coach. But it takes the baby stepping of all those things to get to that place. But that place of the protocol and the handful of supplements of every meal, it was a necessary evil.
Right. Yeah.
But you have to take the context of the client
It's always
into
going to be that
account.
way because it might mean it might mean symptoms is enough. It might mean basics is enough. It might mean
Yeah.
I've had GI cases where I only use blood work to address it all. But the same token, I got a GI map back this week. Blood work was freaking perfect. Maybe some vitamin D deficiency, maybe, and that was it. Maybe the rest was stress. Get their GI map, everything's all freaking red. Okay, well, I can't do anything, and this is why you can't always, maybe not always blood work is the case. But
Yeah.
then the other end of the spectrum I'll give you is GI map came back absolutely perfect. And now you have no clue. You're like, well, they're still having GI issues. They're still having this and that. Okay, well, that's where the blood work would have been better. Or there's so many ways to it. And
And
that's
then
why
there's
it's not
sometimes
a
it's like there might be a mental health diagnosis there that
yes.
we don't know anything
Yeah.
about.
And that's where like it's important everybody remembers is it all depends. Everyone is right. Everyone is right. But there's a time and a place for it. And we have to stop with this. If you do this, you're a bad coach. If you do this, you're a bad coach. That's not how it works. Like there's a million tools in the toolbox, whether it's bodybuilding, That might mean using DMP with someone. It might be using Clint. It might be using EQ or Trend or a diuretic. God forbid you use anything that's a diuretic or you do anything like you're a bad coach. Or you have to put someone on 800 calories and 2 hours of cardio. You're a bad coach. You're giving them but then you got functional. It's like, okay,
Mm,
oh, you didn't do blood work. You're a crappy coach. Oh, you aren't doing the basics. You're giving peptides. You're giving this and that. You're giving a supplement or filling their nutrient deficiencies that this person can't even get nutritionally because they can't even keep the food down or get the food in the first place. So we've got to
uh,
support that supplement wise.
yeah.
Everyone is right, but also everyone is wrong by automatically saying, if you do this, you're a bad coach. If you do this, you're a bad coach. All of these are just tools. It's up to the
So
tool man.
define, okay, so define a good coach.
To me, all of these are tools, but it's all up to the tool man of know who knows when to apply that tool for the person. And they're not doing it solely to benefit them. That is, in my opinion, a good coach. And that good coach also is not afraid to say, hey, I know I mentioned we could only, I'm confident we can do this. I was wrong. We've got to go a little bit more aggressive than I want to do. We might have to do some labs, or maybe, hey, like I got this wrong. I shouldn't have I thought you were ready for a protocol or to do this and that, but I was wrong. I apologize for that. Let's go back and make sure we're doing the basics. Clearly, what we were doing, though on paper should work, it's overwhelming for you. So I was wrong. Let's go back and work on this. Or another good coach would be like, hey, I truly don't know what is going on with your labs. We've tried everything, it's not working. But on my dime, I will go find someone that does learn, and we will make sure you get going the
Mhm.
right direction.
Yep.
That to me is a good coach because you are one, being transparent with the client at all times. Two, when you jack up, when you truly it is on you, and maybe you just made the wrong call, you are able to be accountable and go to that client. The next thing is you're not doing it solely for the benefit of you, whether it's brainwashing them, whether it's to feed your pockets, whether it's to give a pipe dream that if you only do XYZ, you will be better. That to me is a good coach because it's
Okay.
you
So
all,
let me bake it, let me like break it down to something simple.
yeah.
So a good coach, what you're saying, what I'm gleaning from what you're saying is he leads, he provides for his client, he protects his client, and he cares for his client and their well-being at all times. So you lead your client, you provide for your client, you protect your client, and you care for your client at all times. And that's really like, okay, if I'm an audience member and I'm having an experience with a coach and it doesn't sound like this, would I say go dump your coach? No, I actually wouldn't. I would tell you to have a conversation with your coach because you don't know what's going on with your coach for them to not be where they necessarily need you to be. Because if every single time I failed at doing that with a client, I'd have no clients.
Yeah.
Because there have been various times in my life where I've been so dysregulated as a human being myself, and I'm also being coached by someone myself, that if someone didn't have the grace for me to come to me and say, "Hey, what's going on? I feel like you're not on top of your game. You're not where I need you to be. I'm, I'm upset with this service or lack thereof." Then, man, I'm so thankful for the people that have given me grace. In fact, the majority of the clients that I've had for 3 and 4 years, which I have a good handful of people that have been with me for 3 or 4 years, which in this industry is
Right.
strange.
Yeah.
Um, those people have given me the most grace. And and we've had the most progress, and we've done the most extreme things.
Yes. No.
So it's like, you're right. Everybody's right. Everybody needs to calm down. Everybody needs to reevaluate their motive behind their business. And if your motive, your overarching calling to being a coach is to lead, protect, provide, and care for your clients, then you're a good coach.
Yep.
Outside of that, you're not one.
Yep.
And you probably need to get some therapy yourself because it takes a lot of self work to get to a place and be the good coach.
Notice it's not how much money you make.
No,
Yeah.
because boy, if that was the case
Yeah.
a couple years ago, I'd been a
We'd,
really bad coach.
we'd have to pay them to work with
He's
us.
right, 100%. I got my coffee mug on the side of the street
Yeah.
going, anybody got a couple extra dollars?
Oh, sir, can you spare me a quarter? Yeah. Yeah.
Heck, last year about mid-year was about like that too.
We'd be
So
looking
it just
like
kind of depends on the situation.
we'd be like Tiny
But
Tim from
no, I think this has been great.
yeah.
I think it's been perfect, and so I'm excited for Val to post it and
Yeah.
um,
We'll get it
chop it
going.
up too. If we can get some clips and post it, that'd
Yeah.
be great too.
Well, my thoughts are I gotta check. There's a few different like hosting platforms I used to use.
Mhm.
So I've got to check and see which one because they've all changed what they do now. My thought was get it up by Friday.
Yeah,
And then once it's done, we can post it. We'll be able to start getting clips and then we can just start posting. We can just like collaborate and put it on both ends.
yeah, that
And
works.
then
And on top of that, man, like from a schedule perspective, and if you want to do it every week, I can do it every week too. But I don't
I
want to
think
overwhelm you.
no, like I think making the time to do it'll be a good idea. We'll keep chatting with it. I picture it
Yeah,
every week or every other week, and then literally we can come up with different ideas, different topics. If anyone listening, y'all have topics that you want covered, and you want it to be not salesy, pretty transparent. I don't really care what it is because I don't want it to be just health and fitness.
oh, I don't either.
I
I'd
think
rather, I mean,
like with our name, it's aiming up. It was our and it's your idea, so I give credit to you, but it's given to God.
yeah,
And I think if you even look at the logo, I don't know if you're familiar with it. Have you ever seen, geez, let's see. Have you ever seen the images, the symbols where it's like Jesus is God sending Jesus, and and it's like he passes and then he rises. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, yeah, yep.
But the logo, it actually looks at
It
that.
looks like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
and
does.
I saw it, and then Val saw it at the same time. But I really want us to be like not loose, but like not something that has to be super scripted where we have to have things. And it
Me
might be
neither.
like some weeks where we talk about cases
Life.
or
Yeah,
mental health or anything. I really want it to be something that works for everyone. And the biggest thing
yeah,
is keeping it positive. Even when we were talking with that topic today, it's like it was very positive, in my opinion. It didn't have to say this person or clinic or whatever is bad. It didn't have to say, hey, if you do this, you're a bad person. It's being like very transparent, like, hey, there's a time and a place. So I think whether weekly or bi-weekly, different topics, I think it'll be good. So I'll get it posted. We'll get some clips. I'll get it on YouTube. I'll make a YouTube and I'll add you as a user.
perfect.
We can both be on there and then we'll get it going, man.
I'm excited, dude.
Sweet. Well, thanks everybody for listening. We'll have this up at the end of the week and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.